Good morning and welcome to day 18. I'm starting day 18 with a renewed energy. I got a phone call from someone that I didn't expect this morning, and they were telling me about one of the last videos that I posted 2 days ago, that they reviewed it, that they listened to it. Actually, the topic of our conversation was reflection and meditation. And it was so powerful for me because I don't really make these videos for people to listen to. I make them as part of my own challenge. But to hear that other people are actually listening, it motivated me to keep going. And I realized that sometimes we need that push from outside. And that's what the community is for. The community is because God created us for one another. One of the first things that we read was it was not good for Adam to be alone. It was not good for the creature to be by themselves. And that's one of the missions, one part of the mission is to create a community where we grow together, we thrive together. That being said, let's get into day 18. Day 18 is about safe or unsafe versus uncertain. Unsafe versus uncertain, or safe versus certain. And we're going to learn today how our brain processes both of these and how we can emerge and be free from this trap. So unsafe is really something that is dangerous. There's real danger. Okay, it's unsafe to run across the street if there's traffic and you don't have a light. It's unsafe to drive without a seat buckle. It's unsafe to you can name a list of things that are unsafe. Uncertain, on the other hand, means you just don't know the outcome. So something can be uncertain but be totally safe. And I'll give you an example. Starting a business. It's uncertain, but it may feel unsafe. And because you don't know the outcome, the brain or your subconscious will process both as the same. And this is one of the reasons why we hesitate. It's one of the reasons why we procrastinate, because we don't know the outcome. It's uncertain. And this is why sometimes we call fear wisdom. And that's why you hear people say, I'm waiting on clarity. But what they really are waiting on, or what they're really doing, is protecting the old identity that says, no, we're good. And there's some research out there on uncertainty and anxiety. And it shows that uncertainty can trigger the same emotions that fear does. Worry, avoidance, especially with people who struggle with the intolerance of uncertainty. In other words, the unknown can feel dangerous even when it's not dangerous. You can be feeling like the same emotions of a tiger or a lion trying to attack you when starting a business, when going to talk to somebody, when speaking in public. So your brain says, no, we're not supposed to speak in public because the last time they laughed at us. Now that's dangerous. Or we don't know what's going to happen if we speak in public. So it's uncertain. So now that's dangerous. And remember this, your brain is not always trying to make you great. That's not the job of your brain, of your subconscious. The job is to protect you. And it does that by keeping things the same, by keeping things familiar. Remember, familiar feels safe. And this is why a lot of people sabotage themselves, because the greatness that is unfamiliar seems dangerous versus the mediocrity that is very familiar. At least I'm safe. This is what the brain is saying, and this is what the subconscious is saying. We've survived being this person. Why risk being someone new? They may laugh at you. You might lose it all. So your future self is going to require a different conversation, a different standard, a different risk. And when this happens, it it results in a new standard, a new level of visibility, a new level of discipline, and the mind might interpret this as danger. Again, not because it's dangerous, but because it's unfamiliar. And that's the battle that we're looking at for day 18 is, are we looking at things that are unsafe and calling them dangerous? I mean, are we looking at things that are unfamiliar or uncertain and calling them unsafe? So our job today is, let's label those things and let's not confuse uncertainty with danger, because sometimes the thing that actually feels unsafe is only familiar because it belongs to the next level of you. So somebody says, I'm not ready to make the phone call, or I'm not ready to start the business, or I don't feel ready to speak in public, or I don't feel ready to ask for the sale. So the question is, are you truly unsafe, or are you just uncertain? Because if you're unsafe, that means you need to be protected. Okay, think about it. If something is dangerous and you are in an unsafe situation, it requires protection. But if something is uncertain, what does that require? It just requires courage. It requires preparation. It requires action. It requires movement. And an example happened to me. Again, I'm in the process of making some moves in my business, and I had an opportunity to make an acquisition. And one of the people in my business, who I don't even know why I listened to, he came to me and said, are you sure you want to do this? This seems risky and dangerous. And for one moment I hesitated, because I respect this guy. And I said, But then I thought about it. What's risky about it? What's risky about growth? What's risky about expansion? Well, it's risky because you can fail. It's risky because you might lose it all. But guess what? You have the same risk by not expanding. You have the same risk by staying stagnant. And every single move that I've made was risky. So it's not dangerous. It's just uncertain. And you're just as uncertain as success as you are a failure. You don't know if you're going to fail. You don't know if you're going to succeed. So when we talk about identity, the brain, the subconscious, is going to protect the identity that it has the most experience with. So if you've practiced being broke, then small money feels safe. If you've practiced being quiet or overlooked, then when somebody asks you to speak up, that feels dangerous. If you've practiced being inconsistent, if that's who you've known, then discipline is going to feel threatening, because that's the old identity. If you've practiced being rejected, if you've experienced that in your life, then being visible, it feels dangerous. If you've practiced this survival mindset, then even peace can feel suspicious. If your life is full of chaos, if that's what you practice and that's what you become adjusted to, and what you've known in your experience, then peace, then quiet, that is something that feels dangerous. And that's why growth feels like death to the old self. And the old self is not going to go away quietly. And it's not because you're dying, okay? When I say death, it's the same way we read about death in the Old Testament when Adam was told that he would die. It's not a physical death, but the version of you that needed something is going to die. The version of you that needed fear to survive is being, we don't have to use the word death, we can say retired. So some of the things that we need to do is, number one, let's identify where or what areas in our life that we are mislabeling something that is uncertain as unsafe. Okay, let's separate real danger from emotional discomfort. And there's a big difference. Okay, one of the participants in our group, one of her challenges was to go up to a stranger and just ask a question. Now, that seems dangerous. Well, that's what the mind is going to say. We can't do that. That's going to make us feel a certain type of way. No, it's just discomfort. Okay? Recognize when the old identity is trying to protect itself. Recognize when the old version of you, the small player, is trying to protect itself. And the challenge I have today is choose one action that feels uncertain but is aligned with your future self. It doesn't have to be a big action, guys. One small action. You know your future self. You've seen that person. That person moves a certain way. And if you can't see that future self, think of where you were 10 years ago. And think of where you are today. And think of the leaps you've made. Think of the jumps you've made, the growth. Because what we have to do is to build evidence that you can move without certainty. Because you don't have to move with certainty. Faith requires uncertainty. If you were certain, 100% sure of everything that you were doing, it wouldn't require faith. It wouldn't require hope. It wouldn't require all these spiritual talents and gifts that we need. So another question is, what is the other one thing that you keep avoiding because you say it doesn't feel safe? It doesn't feel safe to expand my business. It doesn't feel safe to take my family on a trip. It doesn't feel safe to get a passport. It doesn't feel safe to travel. It doesn't feel safe to do this, to do that. Life is not safe. Life is not guaranteed, by the way. So is it actually unsafe, or is it just something you're uncertain about? And what would your future self do if uncertainty was not treated like danger? So again, we're not looking for anyone to be reckless in their action, but ask God to show you those areas that you are not using your discernment properly, and ask for honest discernment in a godly perspective. Because everything new is going to feel uncertain at first. If you look back at your life, everything that you did, if you've ever gone into a new apartment or a new relationship, it always felt uncertain. When you got new money, new income level, a new relationship, a new body, you didn't know how it was going to be. So the question is not, do I feel fear? It's, is this fear warning me of danger, or is this fear guarding the old me? So let's stop worshiping certainty and let's start walking in our authority.